be beginning shortly. Good morning and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on General Welfare. At this time, we ask that you silence all electronic devices, and at no time is anyone to approach the dais. If you'd like to sign up for in-person testimony or have any other questions throughout the hearing, please see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms. Chair, we're ready to begin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Ayala, and I am the Deputy Speaker of the New York City Council and the Chair of the General Welfare Committee. We are here today to hold an important oversight hearing on the administration of the city's CityFEP program. The city has a long history of developing housing voucher programs to support New Yorkers in stable, permanent housing. In 2018, then Mayor de Blasio consolidated a number of such voucher programs to create what is now known as the CityFEPS program. CityFEPS assists households in the community who are at risk of homelessness or are referred by specific city agencies to avert the need to enter the shelter system. CityFEPS also helps households who are already in the city's shelter system to obtain permanent housing. This program not only provides individuals with vital resources to secure housing, but also provides individuals the opportunity to work with specialists after securing housing to ensure that that housing is maintained. We know that housing vouchers are an effective solution to address homelessness and affordability. And in New York City, the CityFEPS program supported over 13,000 households in fiscal year 2024 alone. However, we also know voucher programs can be plagued with administrative issues, delay, and complications that make them difficult to access and use. The General Welfare Committee hopes that this hearing can provide a forum to understand the operationalization of the CityFEPS voucher program, including successes, obstacles, and lessons learned. We look forward to hearing from representatives of the administration about the operation of the CityFEPS program, including current data on how the program is benefiting New Yorkers and where the potential pitfalls lie in ensuring that it is effectively and efficiently implemented. The committee understands that the CityFEPS program is currently the subject of ongoing litigation, but we are here today not to discuss the litigation, but to rather understand the way the program is being implemented and has been implemented since before this council passed the legislation that is subject to the ongoing litigation. We thank the administration for speaking to these components, and I also thank advocates and individuals who are here today that can speak to their direct experience with the CityFEPS voucher program. I would also like to thank the General Welfare Committee staff who worked hard to prepare this hearing, including Sahar Mozami, Legislative Counsel, Nina Rosenberg, Policy Analyst, Julia Haramis, Unit Head, Faria Rahman, Finance Analyst, Elizabeth Childers Garcia, Finance Analyst, Andrew Skull, Data Analyst, and finally my staff, Elsie Encarnacion, Chief of Staff. I would now like to turn it over to our committee counsel to swear in members of the administration.
Good morning. Will you please raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
I do. I do.
Perfect. You may begin when ready.
Just one second, I'm sorry. I just want to recognize that we've been joined by Councilmember Aviles and Ung.
Thank you. Good morning. I want to thank Deputy Speaker Ayala and members of the Committee on General Welfare for holding today's hearing on the administration of CityFEPS. My name is Molly Wasso Park, and I serve as the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Social Services, which is comprised of the Human Resources Administration, HRA, and the Department of Homeless Services, DHS. I'm joined today by Andrea Reed, Deputy Commissioner of Prevention and Housing Assistance at the Human Resources Administration, and Risa Henderson, Chief of Placements at the Department of Homeless Services. The City Fighting Homelessness and Eviction Prevention Supplement Rental Subsidy, better known as CityFEPS, is a component of the larger DSS HRA DHS strategy of providing an integrated continuum of client services to create a path towards sustainability for low-income New Yorkers. CityFEPS is the largest municipally funded rental subsidy in the nation and a vital tool in the agency's pursuit to promote housing stability for all New Yorkers. Rental assistance programs like CityFEPS are an essential resource in assisting New Yorkers experiencing homelessness move out of shelter and into stable housing. Developing independent living plans, or ILPs, and a strategy to support that plan starts upon a client's entry into shelter. From the issuance of the City FEP shopping letter to the point of move out from shelter, our dedicated DHS and provider staff are laser focused on connecting clients to permanent housing. That process includes case management, connecting clients with the tools to obtain employment, the work of shelter housing specialists, the DHS apartment search team, and the public engagement unit, also their housing search team to find apartment leads, and shelter housing specialists and DHS staff who collectively make sure subsidy packages are accurate and processed efficiently. City FEPS also plays an integral role in keeping New Yorkers at risk of homelessness housed. For clients in community, HRA's home-based program serves as a key pathway for access to City FEPS. HRA oversees 26 home-based sites across the 5 boroughs. The home-based program provides various homelessness prevention services and aftercare support services to families and individuals exiting shelter and transferring to permanent housing. New Yorkers may be eligible for home-base if they are at imminent risk of entering the New York City shelter system, are low income, and want to remain stably housed in their community. Once in the program, dedicated home-based staff are available in each borough to evaluate a household's specific needs and offer supports, such as services to prevent eviction, assistance obtaining public benefits, emergency rental assistance, utility and rent payment support to address arrears, short-term financial assistance, educational and job placement assistance, and help relocating. The city's investment in the City FEPS rental subsidy and overall focus on permanent housing placements have proven to be essential in stabilizing the lives of at-risk New Yorkers since the City FEPS launch in 2018. FY24 was a record-breaking year for placements from shelter to permanent housing. DSS connected more New Yorkers to subsidized permanent housing than any year in recent history. We helped more than 18,500 households move out of shelter into stable homes, a 24% increase from the previous year. The majority of those households relied on City FEPS to move out of shelter. Nearly 14,000 households, a record number, leased apartments using City FEPS vouchers last year, reflecting a 42% increase compared to FY23. These record-breaking outcomes were delivered to New Yorkers despite a historic low in the city's vacancy rate. The New York City vacancy rate of 1.4% is the lowest since 1968, and when we focus in on the vacancy rate for affordable rental units, it is even lower. For households searching for units under $1,100, the vacancy rate was 0.39%. Those vacancy rates have ongoing impacts on securing affordable housing. In the face of that challenge, the city and DSS continue to innovate and partner with sister agencies in mobilizing resources to assist our clients. Recognizing we are in a housing emergency, DSS is leaving no stone unturned in our efforts to connect New Yorkers in shelter to housing and has embarked on a program to use social service dollars to actually create deeply affordable housing. We announced our groundbreaking affordable housing services program in the beginning of 2024. Through this initiative, we are fast-tracking the creation of newly constructed high-quality and deeply affordable housing for City FEPS voucher holders in shelter. The agency will develop nearly 900 units through this program during the Adams administration. To date, the agency has brought 4 high-quality sites comprising of 240 units online, with most of these units leased up in a matter of weeks. We understand that City FEPS is a complicated and intricate program. DSS is committed to progressively strengthening the program over time. In recent years, we have worked to increase subsidy access by reducing work requirements for families with children, eliminating the 90-day rule, and allowing for the use of City FEPS statewide. We've also focused on ways to generate more housing packages by holding providers accountable for meeting exit targets and training shelter staff on best practices for complete and thorough submissions to ensure housing packages can be expedited to get clients housed as quickly as possible. And finally, we've invested in technical improvements to help streamline the process. We continue to work to reduce client and landlord administrative burden by improving systems like Access HRA and Current NYC. We are streamlining workflows and thinking critically about what documentation we really need. Doing so reduces the client's paperwork and form filling burden. To give just one example of how we are approaching this work, we are currently partnering with a nonprofit called Reinstitute that has a long history of bringing together people with lived experience of homelessness, government, and service providers to facilitate housing placements for households experiencing homelessness. This is work they do all over the country. They are helping us to bring down our package return rate, since we know that when we have to return a City FEPS package to a shelter provider because documentation is missing or inaccurate, it adds time to that household shelter stay. Reinstitute is looking at both DHS and provider workflows to identify ways that we can improve. Process improvement is an ongoing endeavor as step by step we gather input, reflect, and reassess based on client and stakeholder experience. We are committed to listening to feedback from our clients and stakeholders and exploring what we can make work better, even in the face of a tight, affordable housing market and other complex challenges. Though our focus is on City FEPS today, I do want to highlight that this subsidy is part of a larger landscape of housing subsidies that serve New Yorkers experiencing homelessness and low-income households generally. In addition to City FEPS, the New York State Family Homelessness and Eviction Prevention Supplement, or State FEPS, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as Section 8, and New York City Housing Authority housing all serve as important tools in providing crucial aid. Situating City FEPS in a broader policy context, it is important to recognize that other levels of government share the responsibility to devote resources to protecting housing stability overall, and through the avenue of rental assistance in particular. Relatively speaking, our municipal city government has the least latitude and fiscal capacity when compared to state and federal partners. While we can provide evidence of the efficacy of our policies and strategies, I would like to underscore the need for further investment by our other levels of government partners. Investment in these other housing subsidies is essential to ensuring New Yorkers at risk of housing instability receive as many resources as possible. Lastly, I want to briefly deviate from City FEPS entirely and flag a time-sensitive issue that will affect many voucher holders and your constituents generally. As of April 2025, households receiving Medicaid must recertify in order to maintain their coverage. The COVID-era extensions are fully exhausted, and it's crucial that Medicaid recipients recertify. We want every eligible household to maintain their coverage, so strongly urge everyone to respond to DSS recertification notices. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with the Council on getting this message out. We appreciate the opportunity to testify today and welcome your questions. Thank you.
Making myself a note to make sure that I'm properly getting that information out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you describe the process in which a family is provided information about their potential eligibility for the City FEPS program and how they would go about applying?
Sure. Let me start, and my colleagues can chime in. That looks a little bit different depending on whether we're talking about a household in shelter or a household in the community. So let me do a high-level overview of each of them. So for a client in shelter, the conversation about housing should start day one. The client was going to be meeting with their caseworker to complete an independent living plan. That's something that they update every 2 weeks in most cases. And then housing specialists should be helping to certify that client for any subsidy for which they appear to be eligible. For clients who are in shelter who meet initial City FEPS eligibility requirements, they'll get a shopping letter automatically. And about 75% of the shopping letters are in fact issued automatically. If a family isn't, for example, on cash assistance or working when they first enter the shelter, they'll work with their case manager to deal with, address those issues first, and then as soon as they do meet the standard, that letter will get issued. For clients in community, it is a little bit different. So many of the people in community, there are many people in community now who have a City FEPS voucher. They obviously know about the program if they would like to move or have changes in life circumstance so that they need to make adjustments, or even, frankly, just the annual renewal. That can be done on Access HRA. For somebody who believes that they are eligible for City FEPS or thinks they might be eligible for City FEPS, we have quite detailed frequently asked questions on our website. The core requirement, there are a whole slew of varieties, but sort of the basic requirement for in-community eligibility is imminent risk of eviction and has prior shelter history, and then households should go to home base and then they can move the process from there.
So they had to be in shelter prior?
There are absolutely exceptions around veterans, people in rent-controlled units, some other special populations, but for most people in community, the eligibility requirement does require previous shelter history. Andrea, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just adult protective.
Is it on? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Council Member, for that question. There's the Adult Protective Services group as well.
And they're not required to have prior?
No prior
Okay.
shelter history.
Okay. Well, two things about the shelter, process. Is there like an internal audit to ensure that folks are getting that information on day one?
So, I don't know that I would necessarily characterize it as an internal audit process, but yes, we are monitoring our processes and our shelter performance very, very closely, and housing exit performance and subsidized exit performance is one of our key the key metrics that we look at. So we have expectations for how many placements each shelter, subsidized placements in particular, that each shelter should be doing. It is adjusted a little bit based on the population, right? We're not gonna necessarily give the same targets to, say, a mental health shelter and an employment shelter, just because the life circumstances of the people in those shelters are different, but we give targets, and if they aren't meeting those targets, we will put them on a corrective action plan and we will engage. Chief Henderson has also recently launched a program that I think is really innovative to provide some extra support to the shelters who are struggling a little bit, so I will let her speak about that.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Council Member, for that question. So, as the Commissioner said, we're doing a variety of different strategies to help providers get the supports that they need, as well as to hold them accountable. We just launched a concierge pilot, which is aimed at providing the blueprint for housing to help providers understand their roles and expectations in supporting clients in their journey. Our staff is embedded in shelters that require more hand-holding, and the requirements is to ensure that clients are getting access to information, to support, as well as helping them navigate the system. We're also providing reporting and analytics to help providers zone in and target the clients who are most in need of the services that they deliver.
We've been joined by Councilmember Caban on Zoom. How is the administration sharing information about the new utility allowance?
Terrific question. So just to take a step back so we're all on the same page, the utility allowance is really a reflection of the fact that utility costs are a part of housing costs, right? And our desire is that people are paying 30% of their income for housing writ large, and that includes utility costs. So what we have done recently is this was about a year ago, is to adjust so that the maximum payment standard is adjusted depending on what forms of utilities the client is responsible for. So I just want to pull up my notes here to make sure I'm doing accurate examples here. But so the maximum payment standard, if all utilities were included, for a two-bedroom is $3,027. But if the tenant pays gas and electric, which is a very common scenario, it's $28.85, right? So there's a $142 difference. And all of this is coded into our systems, right? So that it is, the client doesn't need to know to ask for this, right? That this is set when their voucher is getting processed. So in that case, the maximum that the landlord can collect is the $28.85, and also varying based on legal rent and things like that, but I'm sort of pretending for the moment that that's not an issue. The client is paying 30% of their income in rent, so if you theoretically, let's just say 30% of their income was $300, they're actually paying $158 of that in rent, and then that $142, that shelter allowance, right, is available for use as utilities. So this aligns with Section 8, the way Section 8 has been doing it for a very long time. Those utility allowances are posted on our website, but as I say, this structure is now codified into our systems so that it's processed on an automatic basis.
Councilmember Caban, did you want to ask a follow-up question on that, since that was your bill? Oh, we don't have quorum, sorry. Send it to Alexa. How many households were found eligible for City FEPS vouchers in the previous and current fiscal year, and can you disaggregate by household type?
So the eligibility process for Section 8, for City FEPS is slightly different than the eligibility process for many other benefits, where you have a clear-cut, I am applying, and there is a yes/no rejection moment, as is the case for, say, SNAP or cash assistance. With City FEPS, there is this sort of early, upfront, and frankly rolling assessment about eligibility. If you appear to pass that upfront eligibility assessment, right? You're in shelter, you're on cash assistance, you have some work income, you get the shopping letter. At that point, the formal eligibility of processing the voucher happens sort of much later after the client has identified the apartment. But because we've done that early assessment, we find there's almost never a formal ineligibility determination. And if a household doesn't appear to pass the initial upfront assessment on day 1, we'll do it again at day 3, at day 5, at day 10, right, as their circumstances change. So it's much more of an iterative and rolling process, which is a long-winded way of saying I don't really have ineligible numbers to give you.
Do we know how many households were found newly eligible for APS households?
As my colleague noted, APS is one of the criteria. APS is very sensitive medical information, so while clients can be routed to City FEPS because of their APS eligibility, we don't, in their rental assistance data, tag them as APS clients because we're trying to protect the confidentiality of that medical information. So that's another one, I'm sorry, that I can't add. To give a little bit of context so that we do have quite a bit of data on City FEPS, in FY24, there were 13,400 households who did lease up with City FEPS. For this fiscal year through December, there have been 7,100 households that have done so, and I can, certainly break out that data in other ways. We have about almost 52,000 households that are currently receiving City FEPS in total.
52,000?
The exact number is 51,921 as of December.
Okay. Hold on. I'm just trying to go back to the APS issue because I find it a little confusing. So, how would personal medical information be accessible to anyone
So in order to be APS eligible, you must be so meet a definition of mental or physical impairment that you cannot manage your own affairs, right? So, and it is critical that the program staff within our APS team understands that and knows that, and they certainly have data on their clients. We have a whole other universe of people who are managing rental assistance vouchers, right? And to know that client Molly is seriously physically impaired, they don't necessarily need to know that, right? So it is important that the APS program staff are monitoring their caseload, and they absolutely are monitoring their caseload. They engage with everybody on that caseload on a regular basis, but the people processing the rental vouchers don't need that medical information on the client.
But I would argue that DSS would need that information or should have that information because you're the largest advocate for these types of programs, and how are we able to assess whether or not there's a specific need in the aging population that we're not able to respond to.
So we can certainly follow up with information about the APS caseload in general. Absolutely, yeah. We agree that there is that is a critical vulnerable population. And just to expand a little bit on the intersection between APS and City FEPS, and to speak broadly about APS in general, right? There are very specific eligibility criteria for APS that are in state law, right, around physical, mental impairment, ability to manage their own affairs, and nobody else who's able or willing to take responsibility for that individual. And there is some curtailment of civil liberties when somebody is participating in APS. So it's a very, very specific program without a lot of discretion for the agency. So we look at all of the referrals that come to us. The fact that somebody is or isn't qualified for APS is strictly based on whether or not they meet those state requirements. There may be many other, somebody can not meet the requirements for APS and still have other kinds of housing stability needs, at which point we would really engage with them to look at our full complement of, can we bring our emergency rental assistance to bear? Do they need assistance with a lawyer? Are they SCREE eligible, right? There's a slew of benefits. So APS is a very narrow slice of it and very constrained by state law, but there are other resources for seniors facing housing instability.
Yeah, I mean, most of the cases that you described to me warrant some sort of supportive housing, not necessarily city FEPS, where they're living independently after they've had a history of not being able to do that on their own. I had another question about it, and it just left. Go ahead, Alexa had a follow-up.
I want to go back to the question about ineligibility. I know you noted that the process is iterative and can change on a daily basis, but it's a little shocking to me that there is no way for you all to note how many times a person or family, whatever, a client is tagged as ineligible, and what that cycle and where it's happening throughout the system. I would expect staff is inputting all this information. Is this a technological problem, or is it that that's just not a metric we're interested in following?
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from, certainly, but by deeming somebody ineligible, essentially we're saying this is not an option for you. And what we are instead saying let's focus on families, on households in the shelter system, just because, as I say, it does look a little different outside, but for families in the shelter system, you may not, if you are ineligible for you don't get a shopping letter today. Our goal is that you are going to get a shopping letter at some point in the near future, right? So, but I don't want to qualify somebody as ineligible, because that feels to me like we're drawing a line under what is and isn't part of their planning process. So we absolutely know which households have a shopping letter and which households don't have a shopping letter. And then our goal is to work with those who don't have a shopping letter to try and help them get into that shopping letter category. As of January 20th, there were over 11,000 households in the shelter system with shopping letters. So there's also, a big piece of making the City FEPS program work is thinking about housing supply. We have a lot of people with vouchers who are struggling to find places to use them, but then with the remaining households that don't have a shopping letter, right? I don't want to label them as ineligible, because that to me sends the message, and to the very diffuse groups of staff that we're working with, that we're crossing City FEPS off the list as a resource that household has available to them, when it's not the case.
So how? So it sounds like there's like a soft process happening, and I guess from the perspective of a client, when you're not given the shopping letter, you're like ineligible and moving other places without real clarity around why. So I guess I just would like to understand if the agency is really looking at those particular moments and looking at the data and understanding why is it happening at that point, to look at trends that could help us kind of ensure that the service provision is able to respond to gaps and/or challenges that maybe we're not set up to look at. So that's a little bit of my concern with this not reporting in some kind of ways where these gaps are happening, because we see the back end of it. We just get people who are frustrated and say, I'm constantly bumped out, I'm not eligible, I don't understand, I'm, in a hotel. So I guess I'd love to understand more how the agency can be more nuanced and assess those particular points in time.
So, and I hear you, and we can, we have been doing a lot of training with our staff. I can ask my colleague here to speak more about the training. And I think one of the things that we should be making sure is that housing specialists and caseworkers are making sure to communicate with clients about the full spectrum of resources that are out there, right? CityFEPS is a big one, and growing, right? We have grown overwhelmingly in the last several years, but also that making sure that people understand that there may be Section 8 vouchers, there may be NYCHA vouchers, state FEPS is a resource that's available, and helping them understand that spectrum of resources. But absolutely, we do look at data. The two primary qualifications for city FEPS for those in shelter are receipt of public assistance and the work hours. And absolutely, we look at data on public assistance on a very regular basis. It's important to us for all kinds of reasons. It plays into not only the resources that clients have for their own financial stability, but it affects our ability to claim shelter costs from the state, so it matters very much for the city's budget, as well as for city FEPS eligibility. We're monitoring cash assistance enrollment on a shelter-by-shelter basis. We are doing outreach. We are following up with the providers where it looks like the cash assistance rates are not as high as they should be. There may be a slew of reasons for that. If you have, a shelter with a higher proportion of recent immigrants, it's going to have lower cash assistance rates. But we do a lot of follow-up, and as my colleague mentioned, we are looking at exactly how many placements people have, how many shopping letters that they have, and anytime we see any deviation from where we expect people to be, we will absolutely do that.
I'll just add to the Commissioner's point that part of the resolution of this is really making sure that providers are doing intense case management. Focusing on individual living plans is key to understand each client's journey and options available to them. We are laser focused on providing real-time support to help expedite some of those inquiries. That's part of our natural process. Providers are expected that clients that are not automatically generated, that they are reaching out and investigating specific issues or circumstances around the client's needs. And our office is there to focus and support those decisions in real time as possible.
So in terms of, you noted the shopping letters, that you have 11,000 people who were given shopping letters. We understand that there are significant delays in even getting those shopping letters, and that I think delays since October. So how do you explain this current issue of delays, and then where people are kind of not meeting eligibility gaps? So if you could speak to that, please.
Yes. We don't have any systemic delays in our City FEPS program, which is not to say that a package cannot occasionally get delayed, but in terms of across the board, we are not seeing anything systemic. About 75% of the letters that get issued are done so automatically, and for the remainder of those, by definition, it is a manual process, so there is more client-by-client engagement on those circumstances, but we set very clear expectations for what that process should look like, and our DHS program administrators, program analysts are following up on a regular basis with sites to make sure that that is happening as it should be. So, if there's particular instances or cases that you would like us to follow up on, happy to do that. As I say, the fact that we do not have across-the-board systemic delays does not mean that there aren't sometimes an issue that across the board in a relatively complicated process where mistakes can happen, and we are always there to follow up on that. Something that Chief Henderson has instituted recently is an office hours process where shelter providers and clients can call and get information on a specific package. So we want to make sure that we have really clear lines of communication across the board so that if there is a hiccup, we have a way to solve for that.
So what's the gap between, you mentioned there's automatic responses. I guess in terms of the overall percentage, how much are getting automatic responses and how much are undergoing this manual assessment?
So about 75% of the shopping letters are issued automatically. So that's for households that meet sort of requirements that are easily codified within administrative data, right? So that we know somebody is on cash assistance and working, or that they are receiving SSI, for example. All of that would generate an automated letter. And I should say we are perpetually looking at data. What can we pull in from other systems so that we can increase the universe of letters that are automated? The ones that are not automated are the other 25% are clients who are in a slightly more complicated situation. So for example, a single adult who meets the work hours, they are not on cash assistance right now, but we know that we'll be able to apply for a single issuance case for them at the point in time that they find an apartment. That letter might be manual.
Correct.
And are you keeping track of the average length of time that these manual assessments are taking?
Again, because
I know they're complicated, but it's an important 25% to track. If they're taking 6 months, a year, or, I guess the time frame is important in terms of metrics and moving people along and making sure they're not getting caught.
I don't have a metric from the point in time that somebody requests a letter until that is issued. It is a shelter-by-shelter specific process. I hear where you're coming from, and we'll look at ways whether or not that's something that is trackable going forward.
Thank you.
No worries, thank you. Okay, so going back, so can you tell us how many households exited shelter to NYCHA?
Yes, in FY24, 585 households exited shelter to NYCHA.
That was this fiscal year?
585.
Okay. How many households were eligible for vouchers that did not utilize the voucher within the year?
So, given the sort of rolling nature of the shopping letter process, the within a year part of it is a difficult question to answer. The about 10,000 households, slightly higher right now, but in shelter and searching has been a relatively consistent number. The length of time that it takes to find an apartment with a shopping letter can vary really substantially, depending on how specific an individual's needs are, right? So if you need an accessible apartment, there are fewer of those. That tends to take longer. Domestic violence survivor, right, who might have parts of the city that are not safe for that person to search in, that takes longer. There's analysis, frankly, that it's harder to find an apartment in the summer than it is in the winter because there's more people competing in the summer. So there's a lot of factors that play into how long it takes to use the shopping letter. But we absolutely know that the city's vacancy rate and the incredibly low vacancy rate is hurting our clients. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, income discrimination is also hurting your clients.
Absolutely, that is a
Is
real
the
factor.
agency coordinating with the Office of Income Discrimination to report cases?
Always, yes. So we work closely with the Commission on Human Rights. We will always report cases. I will say the interplay between source of income discrimination and the tight real estate market makes some of these cases hard, right? There are absolutely instances where, people will say no vouchers allowed, and that's very clear cut and black and white. There's also instances where, at a given viewing, there's 30 people there and 10 of them walk in with cash on hand, and it's harder to say what is income discrimination versus just a really tight real estate market.
Can you tell us how many households moved into permanent housing using City FEPS vouchers in the previous and current fiscal years, and can you disaggregate that by household type?
Yep. So just for FY24, there were 13,400 households who leased up, and I'm using the lease up language very deliberately because that includes both community and leaving shelter, right? So some of those people will use a city City FEPS voucher to stay in the apartment that they were in. So that's why I'm using that leased up language. 7,100 households to date. There are about 52,000, almost 52,000 active City FEPS cases. Of those, 25,643 are families with children, 3,966 are adult families, and 22,296 are single adults.
Okay.
And we can certainly follow up with you with detailed data breakouts.
Perfect. I want to note that we've been joined by Councilmember Banks, and Councilmember Osei was here a few minutes ago. What was the average time between voucher eligibility and move-in into an apartment in the previous and current fiscal year?
Yeah. So starting the clock from the point in time that we got the package submitted to us, so that's actually slightly before the eligibility determination, on average, it takes about 24 days. And I'm really actually quite pleased to say that this is data that we now are tracking on a regular basis. I have testified about timelines before in front of you beforehand, and have had to use samples that we pulled and did manual counts. We now have I'm now looking at this every single week. So it's from submission to move out is on average about 24 days. I will fully acknowledge that there is variation around that average. There are issues that happen, and we take those very seriously, and we both troubleshoot and use that to inform changes in process going forward.
When there are issues, what is I'm hoping that those numbers are minimal, but what is the longest amount of time that a person has had to wait?
I don't know that figure off the top of my head, but I will say the most common source of delay is when we return packages back to the provider, right? So something is missing, something is inaccurate. And we know that I mentioned this a little bit in our testimony, we know that our return rates are higher than we would like. That is a pain point for us and something that we're really focused on. We have done an enormous amount of training with providers to try and assist them in putting together higher quality packages. We are still not there yet, which is why we're going through this third-party process assessment. Want to be looking if there, what are things that we should be changing on our side? Are there particular documents, forms, pieces of information that we require that are pain points? There's a trade-off. We asked for a deed, for example, because there were instances where people represented that they were landlords, in fact, did not own the building, and we paid the wrong person money, right? So we do an inspection because we don't want people moving into substandard conditions, but there's always a trade-off between how quickly we move and how diligent we are, so we want to make sure we're getting that right and not asking for too many things. So that is an ongoing and iterative process.
It's a lot of work. The City FEPS program currently provides the opportunity for voucher holders to receive a month hold on an apartment as the apartment is being reviewed for suitability. Can you provide us with the number of month holds that are sent to landlords in the previous and current fiscal year?
So the way we're doing it right now is that we're paying the unit hold essentially as a matter of course, unless it is the unit is an HPD finance development. So at the moment, the number of unit hold roughly aligned to the number of City FEPS moves. In FY24, it was 10,274, and in FY25 through December, 6,497. So I think There is some association with unit hold and paying for delays on the agency's part. Actually, that's not the way it's being used right now. This is something that we are looking at going forward.
Okay. In IBO's January 2024 report, DSS reported that as of November 23, 115 landlords were fully participating in the current NYC electronic payment pilot, and 800 were able to receive an electronic payment for at least one tenant. As of December 31st, 2024, how many landlords were fully receiving electronic payment for all of their tenants, and how many are receiving electronic payments for at least one?
Yep. So we have gone up, although there is still a lot of work to do. There's currently 1,500 landlords receiving EFT. It's multiple tenants associated with most of those landlords. We did start with bigger landlords. I don't have the exact number of tenants associated with that, although we can try and pull that. We've been really focused on current. Over the last year, our focus was getting all of the shelter providers to use Current. Current is our new end-to-end CityFEPS voucher subsidy processing system. So at this point, I can say that virtually all of the shelters are using Current. As of this month to date, something like 91% of the CityFEPS packages are getting submitted through Current, which is at the, a year ago it was single digits. So we've put a huge focus on getting our providers to use Current, and now we're turning our attention to really focus on landlord enrollment. We have a couple of tech tweaks that are happening, I think, by the end of this month that will facilitate that, and really, as I say, it is a calendar year 25 priority for us. We've been moving, I would say, deliberately slowly with Current, although I think it's an incredibly important system. We also have track record with across the city with tech systems that when you move too fast, there are problems, and this is too high stakes. We cannot screw it up, so we've been moving pretty slowly.
Has there been any update to the CityFEPS landlord information form? Because I know that it was last updated in June of 2023, but it didn't indicate any option for electronic payments. Has that changed?
I'm going to need to follow up with you on that one, Council Member.
How many CityFEPS tenants had their vouchers terminated for failure to renew in the current and past fiscal year?
So about 90% of tenants renew every year, and that's been quite consistent over time. And I do want to just caveat that figure a little bit to say we would never expect it to be 100%. So, right, people move, they pass away, their income changes such that they're not going to renew. From where we sit, we think that 90% number is reaching the overwhelming majority of the people who should be renewing. We have recently added CityFEPS renewals to Access HRA to try and make that easier for people.
And what is the outreach effort to both the tenant and the landlord as these cases approach their renewal deadline?
There are multiple mailings. Andrea, is that something you can speak to?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner, thank Council Member for that question. 3 months in advance before the lease is up for renewal, a notice goes out to the household. A second notice goes out about at the 2-month marker, and then a third notice goes out to say that you are at risk.
I mean, I get a lot of cases where folks are are complaining that they did not receive anything letting them know that the voucher would be expiring, and I wonder, and I actually had a case like this the other day where I had an elderly woman who has, serious issues. Actually, the commissioner was very helpful with, who had the letter in her bag of documents and didn't know what it was. I wonder if there's a better system. Because I feel like a lot of folks are receiving, when HRA sends documents, they usually send it in different languages, so you may get the same package 2 and 3 times, right? I don't know if that's overwhelming folks, that they're not realizing what it is that they're receiving. But I do acknowledge, right, that in some of these cases, people did receive the letter, they just didn't know what it was. And I wonder, it seems difficult, but if there's a better way, you know, highlighted in red, I don't know.
We're certainly happy to work with you to think about ways that we can improve our tenant and client communication. You know, we really do try and think
Yeah.
about different ways that we can get notices out. It is important that we are sending them in writing and sending them in
Yes.
multiple languages,
Yes.
because it's a
Yes.
legal
Yes.
requirement. But, you know, we have, we can't do this on an individual level, but how are we using social media to communicate with our clients? We are experimenting with different things. There's not necessarily in the City FEPS renewal context, but we've been developing videos and things like that we can put out there. So, you know, if you have thoughts about ways that will be that might resonate in terms of communication strategies, happy to talk about that. I also I should add that we are fairly flexible on our City FEPS renewal strategy. So if somebody doesn't renew at the year mark, but then comes in, you know, a few months later, we'll put them back in the program.
Yeah, I just wonder, I mean, since the percentage is not that high, are there other means of communication, you know, telephone calls, maybe communicating directly with the landlord, who can then, right, ensure that the resident completes their recertification, or at least can add some clarity as to what's happening with that individual tenant?
I mean, I do think the 90% renewal rate is relatively strong.
It is.
And so, but we can certainly think about different alternatives. You know, there's a challenge, and sorry, one other piece that I wanted to add, we do actually auto renewals for people in many different circumstances, so that if we have, if they're on fixed income, there's other categories they don't have to submit paperwork for recertification. So there's a universe that we are auto renewing as well. You know, I think there's a challenge with communicating with landlords about tenant responsibilities and tenant individual dynamics that I think can be hard, that some people, you know, most landlords are very good actors and are there to look out for their tenants, and will understand that also ongoing receipt of City FEPS is in their best interest, but there are landlords, as you indicated before, that will discriminate against voucher holders. So I think how we pull landlords into that is also a somewhat complicated one, but
I mean, but you stated that,
you know,
that they are already receiving a notice 3 months ahead, right? That letter
tenant,
goes out to the tenant and the
yeah.
landlord?
it's the tenant.
Just the tenant?
specific. So, but I hear the point, and it is certainly something that we can take back.
I mean, I just figure it becomes more expensive to not address it in the beginning, because, you know, a person doesn't have it, doesn't realize they don't have it, they enter, you know, into arrears, they have to go to court, they have to come back to you, you have to help them pay the arrears, and
Yeah.
then, you know, and now see if they qualify again.
Right, absolutely, and that's, you know, it's why we send multiple notices, it's
Yeah.
why we are flexible, you know, give some flexibility on the date, things like that, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right, there is a level of tenant engagement that we do need.
No, understood. Whew. How many City FEPS tenants had their vouchers terminated after reaching the 5-year cap on the current and past fiscal year? And how many of those households had previously held an older type of voucher, such as Link, that counted towards their 5-year cap?
So the extension rate at year 6 is very similar to the prior years, that we're seeing about 90% qualify for that good cause extension. We've done some analysis on it, and, you know, the majority of the households are on fixed income and therefore qualify. So it's quite high. I don't have it broken out. We don't track it that way about whether or not they were on any of the predecessor subsidies, but as I say, it's quite high.
So if a person is on fixed income, they get a City FEPS voucher, they hit the 5-year mark, they can apply for an extension. How much time are they given after they apply for the extension if they're approved? How long is it extended?
I believe,
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Councilmember. So it's just a regular process of the annual renewal, and so they would just be submitting the renewal application that says good cause request.
But does that, so then, okay, so then they're approved, right? So does that mean that they have about the voucher for an additional year, an additional 5 years? Or do they are they coming back annually?
There's an annual renewal that's required.
But
Is at some point, do you exhaust the amount of times that you can request an extension?
so we have not time limited anybody out of city FEPS. It looks very similar. The process is essentially very similar to your recertification process. So we haven't had any situation where we say you would keep qualifying, but for the fact that you've now been on for 8 years or 9 years or something like that.
You haven't gotten there yet because the program is still fairly new, but is there?
We've absolutely had people who are in their
Yeah.
past their 5-year mark, and there is no hard and fast timeline at this point. To the extent that people qualify for a good cause extension, they do need to recertify annually, but that is something that we maintain.
Yeah, I mean, because that would be concerning, right? We had this happen with, the downside, I think, to some of these programs is that, you know, when they do expire, we run out of time. Most of these tenants are coming into apartments that they can't afford on their own because they have a fixed income or because they're working and not making enough to pay the rent. And so when the program expires, so does their time in that apartment because they inevitably end up back in shelter. And so,
Right, and we are using the good cause
Yeah.
extension, which, as I say, is applying to the overwhelming majority of households to prevent having that cliff.
yeah, but that's also an indicator that we need to be building more subsidized housing.
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah, I think that's the long-term solution to this.
The fact that we have a 1.4% vacancy rate is overwhelmingly at play here, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, you always hear, when we're building, these apartments are affordable to who, right? And I get it, I think the majority of the public doesn't understand that those apartments are meant to replace, subsidized housing units that we lost to destabilization at some point. However, this still doesn't negate the fact that, while they're affordable to working people, they're not affordable to individuals on a fixed income, to the elderly, to people that are making low wages. Those people really need subsidized housing. They don't need affordable housing. They need subsidized housing, and there's a difference. So, I think that any help that we can, I think, as we learn, right, about the root causes of homelessness and as the numbers continue to climb, I think, that it's imperative that we all step up and advocate for more of that type of housing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. One of, obviously, housing development is a little bit out of my lane at the Department of Social Services, but one of the initiatives that we are incredibly proud of is our Affordable Housing Services Program, where what we've done is take city FEPS and turn it into a project-based rental assistance contract. So a not-for-profit will get a contract that includes city FEPS rent, some maintenance and operation dollars, and light touch social services, and that contract runs for 30 years. And because there is this, long-term contract to pay rent, they can take that to a bank and get a mortgage. And so over the summer, we had 3 nonprofits acquire 4 different buildings using this tool, right? So the not-for-profits actually were able to buy the buildings, and everybody going into those buildings for the next 30 years will be a long-term stayer DHS client who's effectively receiving city FEPS, and the city FEPS is actually running through the contract. It's permanent housing, so the people who move in there might stay for 30 years, or maybe they'll stay for 10 years and, move someplace else, and then the next person that moves in will be also from that. So we can't solve all of our problems that way, but recognizing, as you say, that their vacancy rate has an enormous impact on our clients, we are trying to actually create those really deeply affordable housing opportunities.
Okay. Do we know, I mean, I'm sure they, I don't know that you would have this on you, but would we know how many, what of the potentially 10% of folks that are not applying for a renewal, is there a way to keep track to see if any of, if any of them end up back in shelter?
I know the return rate from subsidized housing to shelter is quite low. It's under 1% for families with children and just a couple of percentage points for single adults. I don't know that we have done that analysis of specifically people who have not renewed their City FEPS vouchers, but we can take a look at that and get back to you.
All right, and if you could give me the number of households that received an extension after the 5-year limit was up?
Yeah, we'll follow up with that.
What is the referral distribution at City FEPS, of City FEPS users? How many users are referred through the community versus government agencies?
So of the lease-ups each year, so people who start using a City FEPS voucher, about 2/3 of them are people who are in shelter, and 1/3 of them are in community users. It varies on the margins from year to year, but those have been relatively consistent numbers.
Are there a specific number of vouchers that are set aside for community?
No.
Okay. What is the city's actual spending so far this year for City FEPS vouchers, and what is the projected spending for the rest of fiscal year 25?
Through December, we have spent $578 million on City FEPS. The FY25 budget is $1.1 billion. Just by way of context, last year, so FY24, actual spending was $855 million. So spending on this program is growing very rapidly.
Okay. Will additional funding be needed for the current fiscal year to meet the need?
We're coordinating really closely with OMB. I feel good about where fiscal year 25 stands. There's many uncertainties in City FEPS spending, both the number of people participating, what fair market rent is, things like that. So we work closely with OMB to adjust the budget on an as-needed basis.
It's a point of contention with the council because we continue to ask for baseline, funding that accurately reflects the needs of the program. I know that I have confidence that they will fill it in and that the vouchers will be paid, but it's a risk that we're taking, right? If we fall off the fiscal cliff, like how do we ensure that we have the appropriate funding if it's not baselined? It scares me. I will continue to advocate on your behalf, don't worry. Okay, I think that's, do you have any questions? No? Sorry, I had one more question. We recently heard from advocates at DSS that there is almost 3 months behind. Well, I think Alexa asked that question about the shopping letter, so I won't ask it. Okay, no, we asked these. All right. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant of Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic, the administration of City FEPS. If you have written statement a written statement or additional written testimony that you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. We're now calling the first panel. Jermaine Delaney, Elizabeth Mackey, Diana Ramos, and Noan Weinberg, Cohen Weinberg. Okay, you can begin on either side. Who wants to go first? You want to go first? Make sure the light is on. It should be red.
Right. Hi, my name is Noam. I live in a homeless shelter in Brooklyn right now. And I have met countless people who have been waiting such a long time to receive housing, to receive supportive housing, to receive their city FEPS voucher. I know a guy with a shopping letter who has been waiting for many months, that lost his voucher, in fact. You know, when you, after 4 months, if you don't find a place in time, and source of income discrimination is a big factor in this, where landlords won't accept your voucher, basically, because where landlords basically won't accept your voucher because frankly it doesn't suit their interest a lot of the time. There are, you know, the New York State Comptroller's report showed that it showed that I'm sorry. Yeah, it showed that that the average waiting time is about 10 months. And you know, in my shelter, the waiting time is about a year. So I mean, that sounds about right to me. After receiving your shopping letter. That's not after just entering the shelter. That's after receiving your shopping letter for a city FEPS voucher. And I think it's worth noting that I think it's worth noting that when we tell people that we want them to work, that we want them to obtain housing, but then there's all these barriers and there's all these bureaucratic hurdles to doing so. It's basically telling people that it's more important to prolong your stay in the shelter rather than to obtain your basic needs. Because even if you're making like $3,000, right, a little over the voucher worth in a month, you're still not getting. You're still not going to be able to get that voucher, and it's just going to prolong your stay in the shelter. So we need to upgrade the worth of those vouchers, and we also need to directly tackle on discrimination by landlords. An example of that is text messages. You know, if you text a landlord and say, you know, I want to schedule a viewing, then you mention you have a voucher, guess what's going to happen? A lot of the time, they are going to ghost you. They are not going to respond. And that's a serious problem, and that's a serious hurdle towards obtaining housing.
Thank you. Go ahead. Make sure the light is on. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Elizabeth Mackey. Currently, I am a voucher holder. I was in a shelter for a year and a half. Thank God for the 90-day new rule, but I had to wait less than really to get my voucher. However, the waiting is housing, apartments. Thank you. To get an apartment. You could get the voucher, but waiting for a year, 2 years to actually get an apartment, that's kind of ridiculous. But to understand the fact that city FEPS is needed for those that's unable to afford the rent out here. I used to work for the city 29 years on the ACS, but I came through a lot of medical problems that I couldn't work no more. So here I am being placed in a shelter system, not knowing so much about the shelter system. But I became a statistic working for ACS, being in the shelter system, seeing all the bureaucracy that goes on in the shelter system. So it was glad that the mayor, among the committee, passed the 90-day rule, because I didn't understand why you had to be in a shelter for 90 days just to receive a voucher and to get help. But even though that you could get the voucher, you still remain in a shelter. I know people that the shelter that I was in still is in the shelter. So it was by God's grace that I got out of the shelter. What is needed in the shelters is support, not to be looked down at, but they need housing specialists that is going to get on the ground to find housing for the people, and also give us a toolkit on how to navigate the system of getting an apartment. They need inspections. Inspections are needed in these apartments. I'm in a two-bedroom, nicely fixed, all stainless steel stuff, but I don't get no heat. The radiator's not working. Windows wasn't working up and down. So I had to literally reach out to the shelter that I was in to navigate, say, okay, what's going on? I need a landlord attention, this, that, and third. City home-based services, crap. Why do I have to come to you saying I have a problem and I would like to move, but they give me the same running around as if I was in a shelter? I have to do an ILP. Why do I have to do an ILP when I have an apartment, but I'm requesting, because of emergency, that I need to move? So they need to look into the inspection. They need to really do an audit regarding home-based services, because home-based services is supposed to be a resource place that we could go to in time of need, and they do not do anything. Just to get an appointment is like 6 months waiting, and that doesn't make no sense. So there's all little things that need to be improved with the City Feds voucher. I hope by us testifying here can, be able to just for the people, because I'm looking up, they said a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Is that really true?
Yeah.
Because if we are doing it for the people, for us, then we wouldn't even be here under these conditions. So they need to work on the City Feds voucher, because if they got all these people, 11,000 people that's still in the shelter with a voucher, something is not right. When the mayor said that he got 65,000 apartments that's available, but who's available to? Really? Because the people, that's 11,000 that has the letter, should be in one of those 65,000 so-called apartments that the mayor continues saying that he has for the people.
Yeah.
So the inspections need to be looked into. Home-based services need to be looked into, because I shouldn't have to wait and going through orders back and forth just to get a transfer. So that wasn't even discussed neither. So next time when you have the hearing, ask them what is the transfer eligibility, because it shouldn't be an eligibility if I already have a voucher. If I said I need to move, all they should do is process my paperwork and giving me my move-in voucher so I could be able to look for a decent, affordable apartment, because every apartment is not decent. It may look decent, but everything starts falling apart once you get into the apartment, and the landlord seems like he don't care because he gets his money every month. So those inspections need to be really, same way Section 8 has yearly inspection, these City Feds vouchers. Come in my home, inspect my apartment.
Thank you. I would also suggest that you call 311.
Oh, I did
and
that.
report, yes.
And the landlord got the nerve to tell me, don't say nothing, that he is sending the super because I'm making a problem for him, that it may be a problem, that I may not get my renewal. I said, so you threatening me?
Yeah, no, he
Understand
can't.
what I'm saying?
You
So
can,
there's
well,
a
you
lot
can
of
report
stuff that
that, you
goes
can
on with
report
these
that as well.
landlords.
That's tenant harassment, and we pass laws against that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jermaine Delaney. I want to give a brief perspective on City Phelps vouchers based upon my own personal experience. As the City Council knows, obtaining and using the City Phelps voucher program often intersects with other social circumstances. You may be facing eviction, you are trying to move to a better and safer neighborhood, which includes moving away from an unresponsive and/or negligent landlord, or moving out of a shelter. When I first received one 10 years ago, I moved from a shelter to an apartment. That was, less than ideal, but you're trying to get out of a shelter. And I also had an apartment that I kind of knew I was gonna get. So I said, okay, I'll move here, I'll probably be here a couple of years, 3 at tops. It was, I got the voucher based upon what I could afford and my own personal finances at the time. So I did get called for that apartment after a couple of years, and I went through all the interviews, submitted all the required documents. When I tried to work with Homebase to transfer the voucher, everything fell between the cracks. It took too long, and I lost the apartment. No landlord's waiting for you months to get the money. You know, as I understand it, it's still happening to folks today, as the lady next to me just said. You know, I had the voucher until March 2020, at which time they deemed my income was too high. And coincidentally, the very next week, the pandemic hit, and I lost my job. True story. And I'm sure I'm not the first person in the city that happened to. But okay, so we go through the whole pandemic and everything. In 2022, I asked for another one, I got one. And, you know, I see that, you know, I'm just not getting an apartment. You know, people not really wanting to deal with the voucher, the landlords. So I got a renewal, and my experience at that time was that some landlords, you know, they're just not interested in the voucher, okay? So which makes it harder to go find an apartment. So it expired, and I tried to get another extension. And this is where the procedures again fall apart. You know, I followed all the preliminary procedures because you're supposed to do like a preliminary interview with a case worker, and then she gives you a case manager, that kind of thing. I guess that's what you do, right? And then I did that, and then after repeated attempts, I didn't receive any response from that second caseworker. And, you know, Homebase, also known as Catholic Charities. So what I want to point out is that there's some kind of disconnect here with the Homebase and Catholic Charities. Some of the people I've worked with there, they were, you know, seemed like they were better at their job than others, maybe. You know, I don't want to, you know, really say something, you know, ugly about people, but, you know, here is where I want to be very clear. After the first voucher took so long, you know, that I didn't get that first apartment, several, you know, maybe 3 years after I got out of the shelter, you know, I became a target of a crime at my current residence, which the police are aware of. And, you know, I'm not a person that blames other people for what happens to me. However, I think about what could have happened if I had that voucher and could have moved. I could have prevented probably having a crime committed against me, you know. And if the procedures were clearer to an applicant like myself. You know, I do want to say the increase in the voucher amount is a great step in the right direction. You know, and this is fixable. We as a city can fix this if we work on correcting the red tape. Find out what's happening with Homebase and, you know, put the connection there. It's some kind of disconnect sometimes. Okay, moreover, the city council and other, you know, authoritative persons, maybe we could work with it closely with the state legislature and come up with creating something close to a Section 8 voucher. I don't know, I'm just throwing things out there, possible solutions. Because as I understand, there are certain procedures for tenants that are built into the voucher. Because what I've understood is that, like this lady is saying, the Section 8 would have done that inspection and would have, you know, came to court and said, yeah, we did the inspection, and it would have been over. But the city FEPS, I don't think it works that way.
Did the city, did anybody from the shelter come inspect your apartment before you moved in?
No.
Yours?
No, I didn't know anything about that. I thought, you know, I found this place on my own. I saw just an ad in the local Queens newspaper. I found it. I went to the place, and, you know, I didn't really know if I was going to get it or not. And then the next thing I know, 3 months later or something like that, the shelter called me and said, oh, you got this apartment. You know, because I had kind of given up. Because, you know, I had the same situation. I was looking for places, and I kind of given up, and I was kind of looking for other places. So I said, oh, okay, you know. So I went there. No one, you know, they went down with me to 16th Street with someone from their management office. But I didn't know anything about they were supposed to do an inspection or whatever. You know, it's my first time ever getting that. So I didn't know anything about that.
Okay.
You know. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Diana Ramos. I am a current City FEPS voucher holder, and I receive City FEPS. My main issue is lack of information, trying to find information. It is, I myself am having an issue where I really need to get out of my apartment and move somewhere safer. Well, to give you a little bit of an experience, last year I was left without a working toilet for 4 days. I did call 311. They, did come, but 4 days. My maintenance management company left me without a toilet for 4 days. I'm a diabetic. That puts stress on my body, and then you're afraid to, Thankfully, I'm a resourceful girl, military brat. So this is a situation. When I initially got into my apartment, it was inspected. They did not replace some of the outlets that needed to be replacing. Not a big deal. I, don't use that. I don't have a lot of electronics, but I don't have a GFI in my bathroom. These are little things, well, semi-little things. The toilet's a little bit bigger, and I do have mice in my oven and no holes in my apartment, just. So these are situations. I want to move. I want to go to, closer to where I attend church, closer to where I do volunteering with safety net activists, and I have no clue how to do that. I actually, thankfully, I am part of safety net activists. I can ask that question. Well, what's good cause? Who do I contact? I haven't heard anything from Home Base. I've lived in my apartment since September 2022. Haven't heard a darn thing from Home Base. Wouldn't know how to do that. I did not know about the utility allowance. I'm a little bit bitter about this because I was on cash assistance. Recently just got on SSI. Don't know what the process is. How's that gonna work? I don't know any of these processes. I'm an intelligent woman. I've been to college, university, obviously I do activism. So where is this? My neighbors who are about to be evicted because of crises, they're being told they didn't know that, they could be fighting for the city FEPS expansion laws to be initiated. Some have families in shelters who are waiting for their shopping letters. It's a 90-day that was supposed to, we were taking away the 90-day, but it's still waiting 90 days. We requested these in October. It's been over 90 days since, to get these letters. There are so many issues with city FEPS vouchers, and, there's so many little red flags and stuff. I heard nothing on how we're gonna do this. How are you going to get information to someone like myself who wants to know how to transfer her apartment? Because I am tired. My current toilet is currently clogged up again. I am tired of calling my management company and asking to please snake my toilet. I am tired of being sent an exterminator who says your apartment is airtight, you need a new oven. That's where the mice are living. I am tired of having to ask for this. Elevators being down. I cannot go up 8 flights, 8 floors worth of stairs. I have neighbors who are on, who are mobility scooters. I have a neighbor who uses a walker. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely insane. As I said, neighbors who don't know how to renew. They were never given that information. I helped them because I knew the information, but I didn't know anything about that utility assistance. Because when it was enacted, I was already receiving a voucher, didn't receive any mail about how to get utility assistance, how to qualify, here's a form, nothing. Again, I have SNA, SNP to help me get information. There's people out there who don't. It is absolutely ridiculous, it's absolutely insane. And yeah, bitter? Yeah, totally bitter. Because I'm in arrears with my electric.
Yeah. The mic.
Sorry. So regarding the inspection, I'm not sure if the inspection was done. It may have been, because I did have a housing specialist there, and I think that was back then when DHS had the housing specialist to do a video, and then I guess a check-off list. But again, if you're not trained in how to do an apartment inspection, then they don't need to have the housing specialist to do it. Because if they did, I would have heat, even though I moved in the spring. They would see that something was wrong with the valves. They sure enough was seeing that when all the windows was open up in the apartment, that was something wrong with that. So when I actually moved into the apartment, windows was open, but when I went to put them down, couldn't. So I contacted the landlord. So he had to send someone within maybe 2 weeks and had to give me new windows. Because HRA, DHS, or wherever they get their funding money, they paid this landlord $18,000 for the time when I got out of the shelter to get into this apartment. And that's from the months that was being held, because I was supposed to move in that apartment in that February. I didn't move in that apartment until April. Regarding the paperwork that goes through, I think that the shelter, because I hear it a lot from other people with these little minor mistakes, which how you get my last name all of a sudden messed up. How you not sending my budget letter that I gave you to them? They supposed to have a whole list of documentation that they supposed to send to DHS so DHS could look at the application. So when the commissioner mentioned 24 days, it could be much more than the 24 days of them actually processing it. Because if the shelter doesn't process it properly, then it go boot it back, and then they be asking us, the clients, for more information. And then when you go down to HRA and you asking them where's the process regarding the checks, they give you the running around. They don't want to tell you nothing. So I really feel that the client needs to be in that process of making sure all those documents is available for us to read before they submit. Because they submitting wrong stuff and they having us wait. One thing that I realized regarding the shelter, they want you to stay for that beginning of the month. Because if you look at it and take data, no one really move out of the shelter beginning of the month. They always move out either the middle or the end. Why? Because they want to get paid their full amount for us to be in that shelter, period. So they linger around to keep us in there. And they come up with so many excuses. So now you have to deal with HRA to find out what is going on, because the shelter system like, oh, well, your packet has been submitted. There's nothing that we can do. Then give me a phone number so I can make my phone calls. They don't give you the resource to call no one. You go to HRA, you standing there all day just to say, oh, they're processing it. But what is the process? A signature? Because when they processed those checks for that landlord, I wasn't aware of it until I had got, and I'm not on public assistance because I received disability. But I looked on my app because the worker said, build the app so you would know when the checks are being processed. So that's when I found out when the checks was being processed. When they gave this landlord, it was $17,890-something. So I didn't have to literally pay my rent until like literally September, because they already, which was a good thing, because they paid it all up to September. And when the landlord thought I didn't know, he gonna ask me where his 30%. I said, you already got your 30% with all that money that they gave you, which they told me. So a lot of the landlords don't we as clients is not aware of that. And so many people that came out of the shelter, the landlord been bamboozled. A lot of these clients asking for more money when HRA already had paid them their rental all the way up to maybe 4 months in advance, which give us a little safety cushion to save for the future months so we won't get in a red.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, too, having that 30% that you have to take out of your income can be a little, steep, because you've been in the shelter for so long, sometimes you don't even know how to keep up paying your bills or whatever. But they give you a little leeway. But these greedy landlords, they thinking that you're dumb and you don't know how to read, and they come to people like me, and I told my landlord, you got the wrong person.
Yeah.
Because I know the amount that they gave you.
So we have to move on. We have
thank you.
a couple of other panels, but thank you so much. Hold on.
Were you able to do a walkthrough?
No, I didn't do no walkthrough.
No walkthrough.
When I moved in that apartment, I didn't even have a shower head, so I wasn't even involved.
Okay. And for you, ma'am, who was the management company where you reside at? What's the name of the management company?
Wavecrest Management. I will gladly give you all.
Slumlords. Yeah. Thank you for telling me that.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah, your mic is off.
I was supposed to already have been there since January, but I didn't move in until, like she said, the middle of the month in March, because this March will be like 10 years. So,
Yeah.
we need something clear for the clients, and so that we know our rights and we're not cheated.
Yeah. No, understood, and we agree. We're trying. Thank you guys so much for coming to testify. I'm going to call up the next panel, Timothy Peña, Robert Desir, William Botchway, and Graham Horn. Who wants to start first? You want to start on this end? You can begin. Make sure the light is on.
Good morning. Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Robert Desir. I'm a staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society. We also have written testimony that we'll be submitting later, and when I say we, I'm talking about in conjunction with Vocal, Community Service Societies, and Coalition for the Homeless. So first, we want to thank the City Council for their tireless efforts in trying to improve the voucher program, trying to make sure that the most vulnerable people are included in the program and that the program reaches its potential. Unfortunately, the City FEPS program has not lived up to its promise. While well-intentioned, the program is riddled with inefficiencies, delays, and unnecessary complexities. Families who qualify for assistance often struggle to access the help that they need because of burdensome eligibility criteria, low rental assistance caps, and a lack of coordination between agencies. As a result, families remain at risk of homelessness. Unfortunately, these problems aren't new. They've been flagged by auditors, elected officials, and stakeholders for years, but meaningful reform has been slow to materialize. The October 2024 Controller Audit highlights the program's continued failures, problems like inefficient support services, poor communication, and delays in processing applications. If we are serious about preventing homelessness, we need to make key changes. First, we need to implement the City FEPS reform laws that were passed in 2023, which expanded eligibility and simplified the application process. We also need to focus on targeting high-risk households, and that was part of the efforts with the reforms, and we hope that the reforms will come into play if there is a successful decision in the courts. But we also thank the Council for securing the $215 million in the City of Yes legislation. We're very encouraged that that will be something that will at least work as a stopgap if we're unable to implement the reforms that were passed. I don't know how much time I have left, but I just wanted to go through a couple more recommendations. We also want to ensure access for homeless and unsheltered youth by upholding the laws that grant them access to City FEPS without having to enter a shelter. We want to increase the rental assistance caps to reflect the true cost of housing in New York City and eliminate policies like the rent reasonableness rule, which restrict access to suitable housing. Finally, we want to streamline the review process. I know many have talked about that, but we really need to focus on that to eliminate the delays that prevent families from securing housing and leaving shelter. With these changes, City FEPS will continue, without these changes, City FEPS will continue to fall short of its goals to provide safe, stable housing for New Yorkers in need. It's time to take action to fix the system and ensure families don't continue to fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Timothy Penny.
Can you make sure that the mic is on and facing you? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Timothy Pena. I'm a veteran and small business owner here in New York City, and I run an organization for homeless veterans. I came to New York City in July of 2022, and Ended up with a HASA, supportive housing, with a HUD-VASH voucher. I had an apartment within 2 weeks of coming to New York City for an apartment set aside specifically for veterans. 2 of those apartments have been empty this entire time, and that's because DHS won't tell the veterans in the shelters that they are eligible for these programs. I sat in, despite having access to an apartment under the HASA program, I sat in the Borden Avenue for 5 months waiting on my documentation to be processed. The HUD-VASH program combines Section 8 rental assistance and case management and supportive services from Department of Veterans Affairs. In September 2023, HUD and VA awarded $16.1 million in HUD-VASH vouchers to 71 public housing agencies, including those in New York City. Unfortunately, in the last 7 years, there have been only 272 HUD-VASH vouchers that have been issued to veterans in this city. 272 in 7 years. That is because Department of Homeless Services has told HUD veterans don't need HUD-VASH vouchers. Instead, we sit in VA shelters, veterans shelters, being told that it is our responsibility for finding housing and that it is our fault for being homeless. Meanwhile, we are being subjected to 2 years of a grant per diem program that the VA is paying for and that the DHS is taking advantage of, and then only to be basically kicked out of the shelter program, the GPD program, with a CityFEPS voucher. Many of these veterans are under the impression that they're waiting on HUD-VASH vouchers, and that's absolutely not happening. And instead, it's just, so I have a couple of suggestions, recommendations. One, that instead of doing everything separately and leaving veterans to fend for themselves as far as when it's CityFEPS or HUD-VASH vouchers, that we have a bridge the gap. Had I been able to use a CityFEPS voucher to come into my apartment when I got here in July of 2022, I never would have spent as much time as I did in the shelter and been able to have that CityFEPS voucher transition into a HUD-VASH voucher. I also would like to see we have specialized caseworkers that process for CityFEPS and then separate ones that do HUD-VASH. HUD-VASH is not doing a good job of processing veterans' vouchers. We could use CityFEPS caseworkers to assist in processing our HUD-VASH vouchers. I also like to see an increase and pressure from the New York City Council to tell Veterans Affairs and Department of Homeless Services that 272 vouchers in 7 years is unacceptable. We have seen a 45% increase in veteran homelessness in shelters in the last 2 years, up from 480 in 2023 to over 700 now. And hundreds more are living on the streets because our shelters and our places of refuge have become too violent. And that's Department of Homeless Services' fault and Ms. Commissioner Molly's fault as well. She knows about what's going on in the shelters. She has done absolutely nothing about it. Lastly, I'd like to see, I've thought about this for quite a number of years, especially since coming here. There are thousands of empty apartments in disrepair and eligible for rental in this city. be my suggestion, is to provide stipend teams of shelter residents to go into these apartments and fix them up and get them ready for rent. I think last year I read a report that somewhere in the neighborhood of 440 days is the amount of time that an apartment sits empty, waiting for repairs and a tenant to flip that apartment. That's over a year, 14 months or so, when the private sector would do that in 30 days.
Thank you.
I'm William Bochway, a legal advocate on the Housing Defense Team and Neighborhood Defender Service of Harlem. NDS is a community-based public defender office that provides high-quality legal services to residents of Northern Manhattan, your district, including representation in housing court through the Right to Counsel program. My main duty as an advocate is to assist clients in obtaining public benefits such as City FEPS to settle their cases and provide them with long-term stability. The Commissioner's statement earlier that there are no systemic delays in the City FEPS program is plainly false. So I'd like to share some stories about how deep delays with the current system have impacted our clients. A year after submitting the application and subsequent contact with Homebase, Adult Protective Services, and HRA, it was only when an impending marshal's notice loomed over our client, Mr. F, did we learn that APS should have been processing his case instead of Homebase. These cases are serious and life-changing, yet dozens of people watched Mr. F and my team mistakenly believe that his application was being processed for over a year. The inefficiencies not only deprive our clients of housing, but are costly. Ensuring the efficiency of the City FEPS program will alleviate pressure on every government system to save the city money and provide housing security to our city's most vulnerable residents. We once negotiated an arrears abatement, decreasing the amount owed by $25,000 if paid by a set deadline. City FEPS delayed the process, blowing past the deadline and being forced to pay that extra $25,000 when the client was approved. These inefficiencies not only deprive clients with the ability to secure housing, but they also continue to perpetuate family separation. For example, my client, Ms. S., who was already receiving City FEPS, needed a transfer voucher to move to a larger apartment suitable for her family and would not be reunited with her children until that happened. Her application was submitted in April. She did not receive her voucher until September without any substantive updates from Homebase in the meantime. The unnecessary delay kept Ms. S and her kids apart for many extra months, creating an extra cost in the foster care system that housed her kids in the meantime. We also find that clients are simply unaware of their housing options. On behalf of our clients, we ask that this committee consider issuing the following directives regarding the administration of City FEPS. If not already done, Homebase, APS, and shelters must inform clients upfront during their intake of each step of the process their application will go through and require faster response times from caseworkers. We acknowledge that the Council has proposed major changes to the City FEPS program, which we wholeheartedly support. However, we also believe that there are many measures that can be put into place immediately under the current structure that will ensure the stability of our clients and their families. We hope by alleviating the inefficiencies and informing individuals of their options, individuals and families can quickly obtain safe and stable housing that they are entitled to. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Graham Horn, and I'm a staff attorney with New York Legal Assistance Group, where I work on the Shelter and Economic Stability Project and on the Community Access Program. I want to start by thanking the Council for your work to expand access to City FEPS, and I look forward to continuing to partner with you to push for the enactment of those laws. Our shelter system is broken. Our City FEPS voucher system is broken. And we particularly feel the pain of overcrowded shelters and apartments standing empty on Code Blue nights when the temperature drops below 32 degrees. We've had quite a number of those in a row where my clients and our neighbors are refused access to shelters and drop-in centers that are at capacity. We've also heard a lot today about source of income discrimination. The voucher system is primed for discrimination of all types with little oversight and weak enforcement. At the same time, brokers and landlords are also wary of working with the city because of the bureaucratic problems with the City FEPS program. Payments are late, benefits get shut off without warning, there are massive delays between voucher approval and move-in dates. There's even a website, a kind of blog of sorts, where brokers and landlords share horror stories about working with DSS. The bureaucratic morass of the City FEPS programs cuts against my clients as well in multiple ways. We know that an apartment is a better foundation for a family than a shelter and for an individual, and it's cheaper for the city to put them in apartments than hold them in shelters. So what do we need to do? We've heard a lot today and great suggestions all around. An online portal system that would allow all stakeholders, brokers, landlords, and voucher holders to see the status of their applications, to see which specific forms have been kicked back for minor errors, would dramatically cut down on wait times, alleviate some of the burden on shelter housing specialists who are incredibly overworked and I'm sure underpaid. A switch to digitized check issuance where possible would cut back on delays related to mailed or misplaced and check cashing errors. Moreover, increased staffing at all levels of the DSS chain, in shelter, at HRA, at home base, so that voucher holders and all DHS guests are able to access their help directly instead of needing advocates like us to navigate those systems for them. Please see my submitted testimony for more details. I look forward to continuing to work with the committee and the council at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for the wonderful suggestions. If you haven't already done so, if you could submit your testimony electronically, we would appreciate that. We can use some of these ideas in future legislative processes. Thank you. Our next panel is Chris Mann, Eric Lee, Kate Goldman, and Helen Strom. You can begin.
Okay. Thanks so much. My name is Helen Strom. I work at the Safety Net Project at the Urban Justice Center. I also support the Safety Net activists, and our members have direct experience with homelessness, public benefits, and the City FEPS voucher. Thank you for holding this hearing. I'm disappointed that the commissioner didn't stay to hear from people who are actually experiencing how this program is working, because I think what you've heard in the last couple of panels is much more accurate than what the commissioner testified to. First of all, I want to say that the City FEPS laws that were passed by the council a year and a half ago urgently need to be implemented. We are working with individuals and families every day who are being evicted, who are eligible under the new laws, who could have saved their apartments and are ending up in the shelter system. We are working with people in shelters every day who cannot get access to City FEPS vouchers because the laws haven't been implemented. That includes fire victims, such as the recent victims of the Allerton fire. They would be eligible under the new laws. They can't access them because the mayor continues to block access. Homeless youth, people who are working and make just a little too much, all of these people who could have either stayed in their apartments or could be housed now are being blocked by the mayor and his refusal to issue people the vouchers that the council expanded. So wanted to start with that. I also want to speak about the serious issues that we're seeing with City FEPS processing. So last week, we reached out about a household we're working with who has been requesting a voucher, and the City FEPS voucher unit told us they're still processing shopping letter requests from the end of October. Systemically, like their inbox, they're processing requests from the end of October. So when the commissioner sits here and says there's no delays, that is simply not accurate. That came from the head of her City FEPS unit. And to say that there's no delays in shopping letters is absolutely wrong. It's a lie. Also want to speak about the utility allowance. This is other legislation that the council passed, and they have done nothing to let existing voucher holders know that this exists. It's not in the renewal paperwork. There was no notice sent out, so people who are facing utility turnoffs right now have no idea that there's a benefit that they're eligible for, that they should have been getting for the past year. And we've brought this to the city's attention, and nothing has been done. And I just want to echo what people have already said about the delays at home base and the delays in packet processing. So at home base, a lot of home base offices, you have to wait 3 or 4 months just to get an initial appointment, and that's someone who's facing eviction and potentially at the edge of being evicted from their apartment. And just to have an initial intake it takes 3 or 4 months. We have people who have been trying to get through that process for a whole year. We have people who've been evicted while they're waiting for Homebase to try and process a City FEPS application. So to say there's no delays there just defies the experience. And this is like people who are working with right to counsel attorneys and have people advocating on their behalf. That just defies the experience of everyone we've worked with. And we've honestly seen very similar delays, like with the packet processing for people coming out of shelter. People have to resubmit their packets over and over and over, and they lose apartments. They lose apartments that they found in very difficult conditions because there's such ridiculous delays. I don't know where that number of 24 days is coming from. It must be like after it's basically already approved because there's no way that that's the actual time period from beginning to end. I've never seen them process a packet that quickly. So I think it must be like some number based on like when you're already very far along in the process. So thank you again for holding this hearing, and we're looking forward to working with the council to provide more accountability for the program and also to get the expansion laws implemented.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Ayala, for having this hearing. Thank you for your relentless advocacy around City FEPS. And thanks to the committee members for the opportunity to testify this morning. My name is Chris Mann. I'm the AVP of Policy and Advocacy at WIN, the city's largest provider of shelter and supportive housing to families with children. We operate 16 shelters and nearly 500 units of supportive housing across the 5 boroughs. And last night, just under 7,000 people called WIN home, including over 3,800 children. In 2024, New York City shelter system saw a record 130,000 individuals each night. City FEPS has the potential to play a pivotal role in addressing this crisis, but it's held back by administrative issues. That's why we partnered with REBNY last year to put out Housing More New Yorkers, a report that is in the folder with you up there. Unfortunately, administrative issues started the first step in the process. Although the 90-day rule was repealed, in some cases families are still waiting for months to be able to start their housing search. Even after a family's overcome the heroic feat of finding an apartment, it can take weeks and sometimes months before they're able to move out of shelter. To ensure that applications are being processed, inspections are being conducted, and payments are being issued on time, the council should pass legislation that sets concrete time requirements. The administrative inefficiencies families face are compounded by outdated systems. Access HRA must be updated to allow families to apply for and track City FEPS applications and renewals online, something that they should already be doing under a local law. Similarly, the current system, which is the system for processing City FEPS application, needs to be updated. It's lacking core functionality like named-based searches, right? To find a client, you have to search by a WMS case number. Just absolutely ridiculous. The inspection process should also be streamlined. We recommend categorizing issues into 2 levels: major health and safety risks requiring full reinspection, minor issues that can be resolved with photo or video proof. With the looming cuts to the social safety net under the new federal administration, we should be looking for ways to expand eligibility. We continue to fight for the implementation of the City FEPS expansion that you all passed, and also support Resolution 255, urging Albany to give the city permission to expand City FEPS to undocumented people. Expanding eligibility to undocumented households could save the city up to $3 billion each year. Additionally, we strongly oppose the mayor's proposed $500 million cut to City FEPS. Instead, the city should be increasing funding for more vouchers and staff for DSS. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kate Goldman, and I am testifying today on behalf of the Real Estate Board of New York. REBNY thanks the committee for the opportunity to provide testimony at today's oversight hearing on the administration of the City FEPS Rental Assistance Program. Housing vouchers are pivotal in mitigating homelessness, increasing housing stability, and improving long-term health, social, and economic outcomes. New York City's City FEPS Rental Assistance Program intends to help New Yorkers living in shelters or at risk of homelessness secure permanent housing. In practical application, however, the program is flawed and voucher holders find their opportunities limited. REBNY frequently hears from members, owners, and agents that the process is proving cumbersome, lengthy, and convoluted. In 2024, REBNY and WIN authored Housing More New Yorkers, a policy paper outlining the challenges facing the city's voucher programs and the subsequent legislative fixes. REBNY and WIN share a common goal: improving the voucher process and helping voucher holders find stable housing. Today, REBNY intends to call attention to administrative delays within the City FEPS program and our proposed fixes. Application processing times are particularly problematic. A 2024 audit executed by the State Comptroller found that it took an average of 10 months from when households received a shopping letter to when they were approved for City FEPS. In comparison, the lease signing process typically takes a matter of days for all other apartment seekers, enabling them to move into a given unit within 1 month. Therefore, the council should pass a local law requiring that the administering agency of a rental assistance application informs the applicant of the determination of approval no more than 15 days after submission. Similarly, inspection and apartment walkthrough times are a pain point. After taking several weeks to schedule, case managers often delay or cancel inspections. All the while, voucher holders remain languishing in shelter while property owners keep units open for unreasonable amounts of time. To address these challenges, we urge the council to pass a local law requiring the pre-clearance and walkthrough to be conducted within 7 days of locating the housing unit. Owners and agents also regularly fail to receive payments, particularly the city's share of rent, in a reasonable amount of time. REBNY believes that voucher holders and all other apartment seekers should be on an equitable playing field. Under New York state law, a payment is late if received more than 5 days after the scheduled payment date. To that end, we urge the council to pass a local law requiring the administering agency to provide landlords with rental assistance payments within 5 days of the scheduled payment date. We are submitting our complete comments, and we look forward to working with the council to address these challenges. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Deputy Speaker Ayala and members of the committee, for allowing me to testify today. My name is Eric Lee. I'm the Director of Public Policy at Volunteers of America Greater New York, a 128-year-old anti-poverty organization impacting more than 12,000 adults and children annually through our 70-plus programs in New York City, Northern New Jersey, and Westchester. I'll submit written testimony following the hearing, but I would like to use my time to share how VOA GNY worked collaboratively with DHS and HRA on our Street to Home pilot program, and were able to use City FEPS to quickly place people experiencing unsheltered homelessness into permanent supportive housing, often within 1 to 2 weeks of first meeting them. While enhanced clinical support services are core to the success of this pilot, DHS's flexibility in processing the City FEPS paperwork after the person moved into housing enabled us to drastically shorten the time spent homeless. By increasing flexibility in the City FEPS application and lease-up process, similar to how DHS did for our pilot, the city can help households more quickly utilize the voucher to access and maintain permanent housing. Our recommendations include expediting access to public assistance to meet the City FEPS requirement more quickly, including waiving birth certificate requirements for people born outside of New York State but could otherwise prove their identity, allow providers like VOA GNY to create photo IDs for our clients, or provide expedited access to ID NYC appointments to meet the public assistance photo ID requirements, assign HRA expediters to quickly open public assistance cases, especially single-issue cases for people with income, and process public assistance rebudgets post-move-in for households well within the City FEPS income limits to expedite the lease-up process and avoid losing out on housing opportunities that were identified. VOA GNY also urges the city to prioritize funding to expand headcount at HRA to meet the growing demands for public assistance and rental assistance. Through ensuring sufficient headcount and sustainable caseloads at HRA, they can ensure timely access to public benefits and rental assistance for those who need it. Finally, we urge your administration to fully implement Local Laws 99 to 102 of 2003 to expand access to City FEPS. In addition to the fiscal savings that would be generated by fewer households and shorter stays in shelter, it can't be overstated the personal and societal benefits of helping more people avoid and abbreviate the destabilizing and traumatizing experience of homelessness in New York City. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, thank you. I don't have any questions because I agree with everything that has been said, and we're working on it to on a process that makes it easier. But I want to thank you all for your service. Thank you so much. I'm going to call up the next panel: Gina Capociti, Juan Diaz, Laura Lazarus, Steve Behar, and Christopher Leon Johnson. Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair Ayala, members of the City Council and Council staff. Thank you for holding this oversight hearing on the City FEPS program and the opportunity to testify on behalf of New Destiny. My name is Gina Capociti, and I'm the Senior Director of Housing Access and Stability Services at New Destiny. Our mission is to end the double trauma of abuse and homelessness among domestic violence survivors. For 30 years, we've been solely dedicated to permanent housing for survivors. We are also a co-convener of the Family Homelessness Coalition. Why do we do this work? Because domestic violence is the leading cause of family homelessness in New York City. And with so few housing options available, survivors are more likely to move from shelter to shelter instead of into housing. I oversee New Destiny's housing navigation program, helping survivors find safe homes they can afford. Many survivors we work with have City FEPS vouchers. As such, we have firsthand knowledge of the program's issue areas and the opportunities for improvement. First, we would like to recommend that shopping letters be extended to 1 year. Currently, shopping letters provide only 4 months to find housing. While this should be enough, with various bureaucratic delays already mentioned and a record low vacancy rate, it rarely is. In addition, as others have mentioned, Section 8 has demonstrated best practices, which we encourage City FEPS to adopt in establishing program eligibility. We would recommend the following changes. Number 1, changing the maximum income requirement to 50% AMI instead of 200% federal poverty level. Number 2, implementing exception payment standard zip codes. 3, eliminating work requirements or offering work exemptions for survivors and other opportunities for waiting periods before losing eligibility after loss of employment. And eliminating the reliance on shelter and home-based providers to manage the voucher process by allowing voucher holders to access their shopping letters on Access HRA directly rather than relying on providers, allowing landlords or brokers to submit packages directly to HRA, and preserving the eligibility for survivors who exit to homelessness without securing housing. Finally, New Destiny recommends addressing issues impacting reliable payments to landlords. This directly affects City FEP's reputation and our collective ability to convince landlords to accept it. Landlords do not perceive the program as reliable compared to Section 8 due to a history of non-payment from HRA. I will close with just one note of a client that was directly impacted by the failings of City FEP's eligibility. This is a client who is a mother of 1 and a survivor, trained as a medical professional. She had to leave the workforce due to domestic violence and faced eviction with a City FEPS shopping letter in hand. Due to multiple delays at home base, she lost out on units and ended up going into shelter. Because of her lack of employment, she was not found eligible for City FEPS. We were able to secure her a Section 8 voucher through a temporary stability voucher referral program, and she was able to move into her apartment last month. If it were not for that program, she would still be in shelter, languishing because she would not have been eligible for City FEPS. Thank you, and we will submit extended written testimony via email.
Your mic is not on.
I've been here a lot, but I've never been at this point, so good to see you, Councilwoman. My name's Steve Bihar, and I'm here because I have been trying to help a friend of mine who's been in a shelter for nearly a decade, and I've been trying to help her for the last 2 years. And I have been an attorney for nearly 30 years. I spent 2 years as counsel in the New York State Senate and 6 years as counsel right here in the New York City Council, and I can't help her. The system is broken, and frankly, the people are broken. I'm not going to use her real name, but I will call her Jane. Jane is in her 50s. She's a black woman, and she walks with a cane. She had a voucher, and I was driving her around to see apartments, and she was clearly discriminated against. She would see an apartment, and she'd write an application, and a few days later they'd say somebody else got it, and then I would call a week later, and they'd say, it's still available, would you like to come to see it? That was bad enough, but she was at that point staying in the Bronx in a shelter from Black Veterans for Social Justice. I called them repeatedly. She talked to them repeatedly about meeting with us to try to help her situation. They wouldn't talk to us. I finally called the COO, and they put me in charge of, they put me in contact with her supervisor. They made 12 appointments to see us and canceled each one of them, either the day before or the day of. She was then transferred to Samaritan Village Women's Shelter in Douglaston, Queens, which is near where I live. At this point, I reached out from my contacts here in the council to the Community Housing Improvement Program, which is a group of landlords that own rent-stabilized buildings. And they said, we have plenty of landlords that are willing to take her voucher. So I sent them her voucher, and it was expired. The shelter in the Bronx never realized that her voucher had expired. It's been 2 years, we can't seem to get another one. She was moved to Daytop Village, Samaritan Daytop Village in Douglaston, Queens. I called the main office of Samaritan Village, and I got a phone call from a woman named Michelle Demott, D-E-M-O-T-T, who was the head of external affairs there. She spoke to me twice and then ghosted me. I've left probably a dozen messages for her, and they've never been returned. And all my messages were saying was, I'm trying to help my friend get out of the shelter, and I have landlords that will take her voucher. No response. I then talked to I called Ms. McFarlane, who's the general counsel at Samaritan Daytop Village. I've left her over a dozen messages and no reply. I did find out the reason why her voucher expired was that DHS had, when it expired, had sent the renewal paperwork to the shelter, and they don't get mail in the shelters. So this woman's been in the shelter for years. I've spent 2 years trying to get her out, and right now I have nowhere to go. And like I said before, I've been an attorney for 3 decades, including being counsel in this body for 6 years, and I haven't been able to help her. I can only imagine what a single mom with a high school education struggling day by day to go through this process. I will finally say that I've taken Jane to DHS down on 16th Street in Manhattan from Eastern Queens, probably a half dozen times. We've gotten no help down there. What we did get was a phone number that when you call, rings one time and shuts off. So I'm asking the council to please look into this. I'm also asking for some personal help in trying to help my friend Jane get out of this shelter, because as you guys know, the voucher is $2,600 a month. The city's probably paying $400 a day to keep her in the shelter. It's a mess. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Could you send me her name?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker Ayala, for holding today's hearing. My name is Juan Diaz. I'm a policy associate at Citizens Committee for Children, CCC, a multi-issue children's advocacy organization. CCC is a co-convener of the Family Homeless Coalition, FHC. The recent CCC's Keep Track of New York City Children book revealed that in 2023, over 30% of New York City renters pay at least half of their income towards rent. There were more than 1,200 residential evictions, and more than 46,000 children resided on New York City's shelter. As such, we cannot underscore the value of housing vouchers like CityFEPs. We value the Department of Social Services' efforts to improve the approval of CityFEPs packets and expedite shelter relocations. However, more investment and programmatic reforms are imperative to ensure that more households receive housing assistance in a timely manner. In our written testimony, we will highlight recommendations, but today I want to highlight the following investments. Implement and fund CityFEPs expansion. We appreciate your support in passing these legislations and look forward to make this a reality. Additionally, significantly increase the budget for home-based. In recent years, home-based providers have taken on tremendous increases in caseload as well as ever-expanding set of responsibilities, including city FEBS applications, renewals, transfer requests, rent portion adjustments, and more. This has not been attached by funding levels to match the new post-COVID reality. Additionally, home-based providers also provide emergency rental assistance for clients in need of city FEBS to state applications and for clients at risk of eviction. I also want to recommend the following administrative reforms. The current single-issue timeframe is 30 days, but often the process for applying and getting the voucher is longer and requires a single issue to be resubmitted again. We recommend a 90-day timeframe. The application package should be readable, fillable PDF forms so that can be signed electronically and emailed back, while still allowing for a paper process. Additionally, consider reducing the amount of paperwork to submit city FEBS packets. Currently, case managers must complete and submit large packets, in some cases over 40 pages. Deputy Speaker Ayala, for several years I was a supervisor at a home-based location in Brooklyn, and the amount of work that case managers and staff at home-based is tremendous. They have to enroll almost on an everyday basis. They have several, at times dozens of city FEBS package applications, and it's with so many pages and so many requirements of repetition, the same information over and over, it makes it very difficult. So that's why it's very important to invest in home-based to reduce, the time the application needs to be submitted. Thank you for your time.
Hello, good afternoon, Deputy Speaker Ayala. My name is Laura Lazarus, and I'm the co-founder and chief executive officer of Anthos Home. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today and share insights about how we can improve housing outcomes for New Yorkers who use housing vouchers. Anthos Home is committed to helping New Yorkers using housing vouchers transition into permanent housing as quickly as possible, with the goal of having that happen within 2 months. We know that housing vouchers are one of the most effective tools we have to address homelessness and housing instability, yet they can be very difficult to use. Here in New York City, it takes families an average of at least a year to find housing after receiving a voucher, and nearly half of all voucher holders cannot secure a suitable apartment. Every day, we see how programs like City FEBS can change lives, but we also encounter barriers that prevent voucher holders from accessing stable housing. These issues are decades in the making and can prolong shelter stays and leave families in unstable and difficult conditions. The challenges include finding landlords willing to accept vouchers, delays in processing approvals and payments, and the need for more robust support services to help tenants succeed in maintaining their homes. Our model helps tenants and landlords overcome these common roadblocks. Here is how it works. We proactively reserve and identify eligible apartments through a network of landlords and brokers, ensuring families with vouchers can access housing options immediately. This is the first and only initiative of its kind in New York City. Additionally, our flexible funding model allows us to cover necessary costs, such as repairs to pass inspections, moving costs, application fees, and more, removing barriers that prevent families from moving in quickly. And we have seen from our work that this support on the landlord side has been bringing in more units into the system that are willing, with landlords who are willing to work with voucher holders because of the support that we're providing. Our expert team also guides both tenants and landlords through the often complicated housing process. From assisting with paperwork to ensuring units and tenants are move-in ready, we streamline what can otherwise be a slow and just disjointed effort. Once families are housed, we provide wraparound support for at least a year for both tenants and landlords to make sure that a tenant is able to recertify their voucher. This support includes monthly check-ins, help with repairs, and intervention if payment issues arise. Our flexible funding can be used to help address utility costs or to ensure a landlord receives payment even if a government check is delayed. By offering this ongoing support, we reduce the burden on landlords, allowing them to focus on property management while we handle tenant-related challenges. This model has been especially effective for vulnerable populations, such as foster youth and individuals with complex health needs who often need extra guidance to navigate the system and achieve stability. In 2023, we entered into a partnership with the New York City Administration for Children's Services to support young people who have aged out of foster care, as well as families who are involved with child welfare and are living in shelter. Our approach is working. To date, we have helped nearly 200 families and individuals move into housing, and of those, 100 are former foster youth who are now settled in dignified, stable apartments. All of them remain housed. Each element of our model, our partnership with government, direct support of tenants, and working relationship with landlords made this possible. We're in active discussions to bring our approach to other city agencies. CityFEPS is a critical resource. Its impact could be even greater with targeted improvements, streamlining the process, addressing inspection delays, and creating more effective landlord engagement would significantly reduce bottlenecks. At Anthos Home, we've seen firsthand how these changes can lead to faster transitions and better outcomes for tenants and landlords alike. We have helped nearly 500 New Yorkers move into permanent housing, significantly reducing the average wait time to just a few months. Our model is creating long-term stability for families and individuals who might otherwise cycle through unsafe conditions. These successes demonstrate that targeted, well-supported interventions can make a measurable difference. Thank you so much for your support of these improvements and for the opportunity to speak with you today.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I want to first up address the fact that you, the chair, let a nonprofit, Vocal New York, speak for over 25 minutes while you give everybody else here, even the Rebney nonprofits, only about 2 minutes to speak. So we all know that the city council is ran by Vocal New York. Now, I'm here to speak to support CityFEPS. I believe that when people get CityFEPS, there should be an increase with how much money you should get to try to get an apartment, and there should be more investigation into every landlord that refuses to honor a CityFEP voucher, while at the same time you should give a limit from like years to unlimited amount of time to use your CityFEP voucher. And I believe that the way you could really solve homelessness is by eliminating these nonprofits from running the CityFEP program, like Vocal New York, that is ran by a sex offender, Canva, Housing Works, and all these nonprofits take away their rights to hand out vouchers and give it back to the government, give it back to DHS. Let DHS run those vouchers. Yeah, Vocal New York, and one more thing we need to start doing a little more is to take away all advocacy rights from Vocal New York. Vocal New York should not be the de facto organization that the city council listens to support to advocate for city vouchers on the basis of the fact that they have a sex offender in their nonprofit that is named Douglas Powell. Until they remove Douglas Powell as a member of Vocal New York, they should not be in the power of advocating on behalf of homeless people that have vouchers, who want vouchers and who request vouchers. And to make sure, you gave them more time. You gave them more time.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you.
Thank
you.
You gave more time.
Thank you. We have another panel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anyone in the public that has not signed up to speak that would like to speak? If so, please see the Sergeant at Arms. Okay. So our last in person is Reverend Terry Troya.
Good afternoon, Deputy Speaker Ayala. I am here representing Project Hospitality. We are a Staten Island-based organization that's been serving homeless people on Staten Island since 1984, 40 years. I've been there since the beginning. I am here, first of all, to say that we are grateful for the FEPS voucher program. It's a lifeline to move homeless people from a chair in our drop-in center to permanent housing or from our family shelter into permanent housing. It's very important for us. We have a serious growing homeless problem on Staten Island. We always have. We've always had the least amount of services, and our people are stuck on the streets, and people die on our streets. We urge the expediting process and that can be made possible to allow a person to move from street to home through FEPS. We also want to note with great gratitude the work of CAMBA, Staten Island Home-Based Office, and to share that it is really important to know that that home-based office is absolutely overwhelmed. It takes months to get an appointment. No one answers the phone, and I have to go down in person often to advocate on behalf of someone. They are overwhelmed, and we really need an additional home-based office or an extended or expanded office. We need the FEPS program to work quickly to streamline their process, to expedite the apartment inspections, and to help reduce the crisis of homelessness on Staten Island by such an expedited service. This will get our most vulnerable families and single street people into safe, stable housing as soon as humanly possible. And finally, I just want to share that Staten Island greatly needs to be considered for placing Staten Islanders back in shelter on Staten Island, now that we have, for the first time in our borough's history, a city shelter on Staten Island for homeless single people. It is so critical that people can draw on the resources of their communities, their neighborhoods, and their families who may also be on Staten Island, and to recircle them back. There are many homeless people who have never been on a subway before or off the island, if you can imagine that. And if we can get them sent back to Staten Island, once they get processed at 30th Street, they can get into a more familiar setting in the neighborhoods from which they came and use those strengths to move quickly out of shelter into stable housing. Thank you so much for considering our request from the Borough of Staten Island.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming. Okay, we will now be moving on to our online panel. Amy Blumzak.
Starting time.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Amy Blumzak. I'm the Director of Organizing and Policy at Neighbors Together. We'd like to thank the General Welfare Committee and Deputy Speaker Ayala, as well as the Council overall, for the opportunity to submit testimony on the administration of City FEPS, and we want to give a deep-seated thank you for all of your work to improve the voucher and to fight for its expansion. Briefly, Neighbors Together is a community-based organization located in central Brooklyn. Over 60% of our members are homeless or unstably housed. We have been organizing with voucher holders for many years now. We fight for policy and legislative improvements to vouchers so that they will be effective tools for moving out of homelessness and into housing. And at Neighbors Together, we also provide direct services such as housing search assistance for people with vouchers. As many others have said, City FEPS is a critical tool for moving out of homelessness, but it is rife with problems, delays, administrative barriers. And so I did want to say that after listening to the Commissioner's testimony this morning, I really need to emphasize, as other panelists have said, that our members' experience of working within the City FEPS program is incredibly different than what was described by the Commissioner and her team this morning. To name a few quickly, it's already been covered, but our members as well experience late payments or payments sent to the wrong address, a very unclear, non-transparent application process, significant delays in every single step of the voucher process, from receiving a shopping letter all the way through packet submission and processing to move-in and the final check cutting. Additionally, our members are
Time
also
has expired. Thank you.
You can finish. Go ahead. If you can wrap, go ahead.
Okay. Our members are also experiencing really long wait times at home base, anywhere from 1 to 4 months for an appointment, regardless of the urgency of need. And we're also hearing our members say that some of the home base locations are not giving them a shopping letter at all, but instead telling them come back once you've received your shopping letter, which is a surefire way to lose an apartment, which is super hard to come by if you have a voucher or just at all in New York City. I think what I want to emphasize is just that, you know, I know you guys listen to this, you've been listening to it for 2.5 hours, and it's, you know, it sounds like a list of problems, but behind every problem are many, many homeless New Yorkers who should be treated with the dignity and care that they deserve. Those are somebody's mom, someone's sibling, someone's auntie, and we see such a lack of care for them in the system that that City FEPS voucher program, it is in the bureaucracy of it all. I want to give 2 examples and then I'll wrap it up. One of our members had a City FEPS voucher. He was scheduled to move into a set-aside unit, which means it was being held through negotiations done through the City Commission on Human Rights for source of income discrimination. And he, in the middle of the process to the application or process to the apartment, his voucher came up for renewal. His renewal took so long. It took months and months and months. It was so difficult to get responsiveness from the agencies that he lost the apartment and he remained homeless, and he is still homeless. Another member of ours is disabled. It's very hard for her to walk. She is supposed to be moving into an apartment, but over the break, we shut down for the holidays. When we came back, our housing specialist followed up with the case manager only to learn that the submission of the pre-clearance documents hadn't been done yet. So a month went by where no action was taken on this application, and our member is currently in a nursing home, but she is going to have to pay now for an additional month in the nursing home at a cost of $600 per day because of the delay in her pre-clearance. There's no way she's moving in on February 1st. It's going to be March 1st at the very earliest, and that's best case scenario. So, she's going to be paying thousands of dollars that she doesn't have because of an unnecessary delay. So our recommendations are to increase capacity at the shelter system, for the shelter providers and at home base, to create better, transparent, more efficient tracking processes for the application of City FEPS, to baseline and increase the funding in in fiscal year 26 and out years. We want to see the City FEPS reform laws implemented, of course, and we really want to see the $215 million that was negotiated in the City for All, City of Yes agreement applied to protecting the most vulnerable New Yorkers who are at risk of eviction. And we need to continue to resource the Human Rights, City Commission for Human Rights to fight source of income discrimination, ensure timely access to the utility allowance, and ensure timely distribution of shopping letters, to name a few. I want to thank you for your perseverance and patience listening to all of the testimonies today, including mine. We'll be submitting more detailed testimony in writing, and we thank you again for your attention to this important issue.
Thank you. We look forward to receiving that information. Thank you all for coming today. And with that, is there anyone else that we missed that has not signed up to speak? No? Okay. Seeing no one, this hearing is adjourned.